Well, this brings us to the last piece of business. I know that everybody wants to know, how did the straw poll turn out? So for that, we turn to our friend Scott Davis. Scott R. Davis is a seasoned cybersecurity and information technology executive with over 20 years of experience driving technology strategy, compliance, and business continuity for organizations nationwide. He currently serves as an elected Pennsylvania State Constable, where he upholds public safety and election integrity in Lower Paxton Township, Dauphin County. A dedicated supporter of conservative values, Scott has proudly served with the Pennsylvania Leadership Conference for 17 years. Let's applaud that, please. Managing technical operations and security for the annual conference. His work includes overseeing the registration platform, coordinating event logistics, and ensuring secure and seamless execution for attendees. Professionally, Scott is the Vice President of IT Services for Everround. Over the years, he has held key leadership positions while directing multi-year technology budgets, compliance programs, disaster and contingency planning, and has developed comprehensive cybersecurity strategies for over 200 organizations across the U.S. As the founder and chairman of the Cybersecurity Association of Pennsylvania, Scott has testified on Pennsylvania breach notification laws and regularly provides strategic guidance on cybersecurity issues to government and private sector leaders. Scott resides in Lower Paxton Township with his family and remains deeply committed to his community and the principles of security, integrity, and leadership. Please welcome our friend, Scott R. Davis.
Well, you know when you see me, it means the conference is almost over, which is sad because so many of you I only get to see one time a year, which we have to change. But two, it means I have to start planning next year. Sorry, Loman, we're already thinking about it. Bigger and better, right? Last night, we discussed how amazing of an audience this was this year. And I went back a few years and I did some research. The most attended and total tickets sold was 2023 at 847. Now, if you think 2023, we had the presidential election, we had some amazing speakers here with us, and I believe that was the year Governor DeSantis came and spoke on Saturday, which made it even more exciting. This year, we had in total 833 tickets sold. In the 4-year cycle going back in history, this is typically the least attended year. So each and every one of you deserve a pat on your back for making the effort to keep the energy moving forward. So next, this year we did something a little different. The straw poll has evolved over the last few years. If I go back, I think it was 13 years ago, 14 years ago now, it was a paper ballot. Imagine counting that and how long that took. We've evolved to a straw poll app that was developed by myself that got the job done, but it really wasn't enough, and it took a lot of time. We went to, over the last few years, an open source program that we were paying for that allowed the straw polls to be compiled quickly and easily. But this year I connected with a team called VoteProof. And VoteProof was an amazing tool. And what I would like to do is have their founder come out on stage, Paul McGuire, to discuss a little bit about the system and how the voting process worked. So Paul, if you could.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you. So as you're going to see, Scott's going to present the results in a few minutes. What you're going to see, not to be a spoiler alert, but one of the still leading issues in the results is election integrity. And you'll see then the results. So when we go and vote, we fill out a ballot, paper ballot, and we run it through a scanner. Then we're done. We leave. At that point, we only hope that the ballot scanner read our ballot correctly. We hope that those results got from that scanner to the official count without interference. But imagine if when you scan that through, you have the option to get a receipt, as some of you did here, taking the straw poll. Imagine you can get that receipt right then. You know how your ballot was read. Now imagine you go home and online you use a code, a random code on this receipt. You then see your ballot, not your ballot, but your results. You know they got from that precinct, that district, online. You now know that. So you no longer have to hope that happened. Now imagine a lot of people do that. Tens of thousands, millions of people, they confirm their own vote online. Just the one vote. They're the independent auditor. They're the one confirming their vote. That's it. And it's really just this random code. It's not tied to any individual. Statistically, what that does is proves the validity or lack of validity of the election. If there is interference, if there's fraudulent, if there's something that just went wrong mechanically, it sticks out like a sore thumb. Vote proof proves the result of the election one way or another. It allows you to narrow down, if there's an issue, narrow it down to the exact scanner precinct where that happened. Every other ones will check off and they'll match, and then one won't match. That's what that does. So that's what this receipt was for. If you went and did it today, thank you for all that. Thank you to the conference for entrusting their straw poll in vote proof ability. And let's look at the results.
Yeah, 1 second for that.
What's that?
Yeah, 1 second. So Paul, thank you for that. And I am super excited to say that the vote proof team has agreed to come back next year. So while this was their first event that they've done, putting this into production, next year is going to be another chance. So if you didn't get to do it this year, come back next year and let's vote. So let's get into the straw poll results, because that's what you're all here waiting for. The 2025 Pennsylvania straw poll key points. Since Thursday, we have collected 267 ballots, and it ended about 10:15 this morning. We established the voter ID like Paul was stating. Your badge was your ID. We had 8 states represented: Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, Idaho, Iowa, Nevada, Tennessee, and someone even from Puerto Rico. And of course, the unique verification that Paul spoke about with the receipt and being able to check your ballot online. So we always like asking the demographics. How did you hear about the Pennsylvania Leadership Conference? 68.8% of you attended a previous conference. The friend-to-friend communication is live with 12.3%. And the conference would not be possible without our sponsors. So please, a round of thanks for the sponsor and the 10.5% that brought. Some additional ways that people have learned about the conference: doing an online search, the Keystone Report, social media, the College Republicans, the Pennsylvania GOP, Young Republicans, email communication, and Facebook ads. Next, we ask how many times you've attended the Pennsylvania Leadership Conference. And this is always an exciting one because I love seeing the first-time voters, which is still incredibly high at 28.9%. But 50.4%, roughly half of you here, have been here from 2 to 5 years. 19.3%, 6 to 10 years. 11 to 19 years had 11.8%. And there were 14 people that voted that stated they've been here for more than 20 years. So kudos to them. I'm not even there yet. That's like John Gizzy territory. We also ask the age demographic. Of the age demographics, roughly 29.4% was 66 to 74, 23.2 in that 56 to 75 years of age, 41 to 55 years, 20.6%, 17.5%, 26 to 40, the 18 to 25, 14.5%, and you even have 10.5% of 75 and older. And my favorite number is that 17 and younger, bringing conservativeness to the next generation. There were 2 of you, not just the one, 0.9%. Gender distribution, 63.4 male, 36.6 female. There were a couple that were not sure, but this next one is my favorite picture. It shows the scope of this conference across the Commonwealth. Look at all that red. We are represented in the major cities, in the small towns, in the boroughs. Conservativeness is alive in the Commonwealth, and this map proves it. Now, if you have friends in those areas that aren't colored red, get on the phone, call them, bring them next year, have them vote in the straw poll, and let's turn Pennsylvania red. Political ideology. We're all individuals. We all have our own personal beliefs. This question asks you to select 3 political ideologies that you establish yourself with. So the numbers are over 100%. So that's why it's 69.1% of us identify as fiscal conservative, 50% of us as social conservative. And we go to the next slide, 34.6 traditionalist, the whole way down to 0.4% liberal. Not sure who that was. And yes, it was just one person. The 3 most important issues facing the Commonwealth. It continues to hold strong election integrity at 18.6%. Budgeting, 15.3%. Energy at 14.5%. Immigration, it's not just a federal issue. It is a state issue as well at 10.4%. Property tax reform at 8.7%. And some of the other issues that were voted upon include abortion, right to life, gun laws, protection for women through Title IX, Marcellus Shale drilling, pension reform, welfare, education, school choice, and more. Next, we get into some more specific Commonwealth type questions. This one here was, would you support the federal government removing funding from sanctuary cities? So the root of the question was, is it okay, or would you be okay if Philadelphia established themselves as a sanctuary? Would you be okay if the federal government said, we don't agree with you, we're not giving you money? 84.2% of those surveyed said yes. It's time to end sanctuary cities. 9.4% of us weren't sure, and 6.8% of us said no, the federal government should still give us the money. Next, I looked at some political trending. Obviously, a lot has happened the last couple years with regaining the White House, gaining some amazing row offices across the state. But looking at the political trends of Pennsylvania, 63.2% of us see us moving more red as the Commonwealth. 18.7% feel we're about the same. 9.7% feel we're moving more blue. 5.2% said we're solid red across the Commonwealth. And 2.6%, again, there's a couple of you that sneaked in. I think you didn't understand the question or something, but 2.6 says we're a solid blue state. I think the row offices say differently. Next, we ask favorability. How do you feel your elected officials are serving us? First, we're going to start with our state treasurer, Stacey Garrity. I don't think there's any surprise. Rated a 4.47. Our state auditor, Tim DeFore, 4.07. The Pennsylvania House, 2.46. The Pennsylvania Senate, 3.28. Pennsylvania Supreme Court, 1.86. Now, I do want to say there is no zero, so it starts at 1. It was 1 through 5. Governor Josh Shapiro, I think we know the room. Senator John Fetterman. I think we all can say Senator John Fetterman has surprised us in one way or another over the years. But a 2.21, I think, is very admirable. Senator Dave McCormick, 4.01. And I do want to issue an apology to the wonderful Dave Sunday. I unfortunately did not add him on the list before we started. So my apologies, Dave, if you're in the room, that is completely my fault. I missed you. So I apologize, but I'm sure everyone in the room would have given you a 5. And I thought about that, but integrity is important in the poll. Next, we ask, do you feel safer that within your own community than you did 5 years ago? 60.2% still feel it is more dangerous today in your community than it was 5 years ago. This is a trend that we have to adjust. We have to start turning this tide so we all feel safer. 35.2% are unsure, and only 15.4% of us feel it is safer today than it was 5 years ago. Continuing on with that line of questioning, we asked, do you feel your children are going to be better off, worse off, or about the same than you were as a child? And unfortunately, half of the room feels our children are not going to be as well off as we were. 21% feel they're about the same. Only 19.3% feel they're going to be better off than we were today. I started asking this question a couple years ago with just how social media and how conversations have divided us as a nation. And it's really just wrong. But have you ever felt personally or professionally threatened because of your political beliefs? 70.1% of you said yes. Now, last year that was 83%, and a lot has changed over the last 12 months. But there are common ground that we can find with anybody. Liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat. Find the common ground, start the conversation. I know we all do that in the room, but we have to continue to do that. Continue to lead by example and convert those to our ideals, to our beliefs, while just being friends. And that's really what this is about. No one should be attacking or threatening each other because of the football team or your political views. The 3 most important issues facing the United States of America: government spending. That's why we have DOGE. Economy inflation, 20%. Illegal immigration, 17.7%. The size of government, 13%. Federal judges, 10.8%. So last year, if you remember, for the laugh, we put Joe Biden in, which of course was rated very high. I replaced Joe Biden with federal judges because I don't think Joe really has the influence anymore. Some of the other issues: right to life, Federal Reserve policy, healthcare, women's sports, gas prices, and marriage rights. Should the president have power to just fire employees at will? We're seeing a lot of that happening right now as we're trying to right-size government. 76.6% of us feel yes, the president, as the executive of the federal government, should have the power to fire employees at will. 13.2% were unsure, and 10.9% feel no, the president should not have that power. And there's been a lot of talk in the media. Should the president have a 3rd term? I think we all agree, 68.2% of us said no. 18.6% said yes, 14% were unsure. Do you feel that DOGE and Elon Musk have too much power? 88.7% said no, 7.9% said yes, 3.8% were unsure. Now, more approval ratings from our federal government, the United States House. 3.08. That's an improvement from last year. The U.S. Senate, 3.09, right in line. The U.S. Supreme Court, 3.22. Vice President Vance, 4.45. President Trump, 4.56. A very timely question. Should the U.S. increase the debt limit? 52.3% of us believe the debt limit needs lowered and cuts need made. 31.8% spending reform needs to be included in any raise. 11.4% says it should not be raised. And 5.3% of us said it should be removed entirely. Now, the reason all of you stayed, it wasn't for me. You wanted to understand who our favorite candidate is for the 2026 governor race. So first, we have to go through the runner-ups. Now, there were a lot of names like Mickey Mouse, Ronald McDonald, Loman Henry, or in one of those orders. I don't know who got more votes, Mickey or Loman. But with this audience and the approval ratings, I believe we all know the favorite candidate. Stacey Garrity generated 41.1% of the votes. Now, every year, I typically kick off by thanking each and every one of you for attending the conference, thanking Loman for all the work that he puts in, the staff that make sure the tables are set, the food is delivered, thanking the amazing staff of VoteProof for the work that they've done this year, the volunteers that help make the conference possible, my wife, my family that volunteer. Many of you have met my parents, and my dad makes it known he's my dad. But none of this would be possible without everyone's help. And the most important takeaway for this entire weekend is put it on your calendar, come back in 2026, April 9th through 11th. With this, Dave, are you coming back out? Or if not, I think I heard yes. Dave.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, that wraps up PLC 2025. Thank you so much for being here. Take good care. Safe travels home. We'll see you next year.